What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. For those of you that came over from Marfoogle News, again, from the main channel, thank you. Again, we're going to have a great show tonight, so stick around. We're going to talk about, of course, what we just talked about on that channel, and much, much more, and we are having live calls tonight at 2244-00-MARF. We have Dex, and we have our mods, and we have a great night planned for you, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. He gave his life for all yours, and I gave my soul unto the Lord. He gave his life for all yours, and I gave my soul unto the Lord. He gave his life for all yours, and I gave my soul unto the Lord. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a great show planned for you because we have a ton of crazy current events. Plus, we'll be talking to you on the phones, and we'll be taking calls. It will be, again, the number to call is 2244-00-MARF. That number is floating right below you on the screen below. Now, if you're not getting notifications, remember you can go over to marfooglenews.com and sign up for ours. You can get notifications directly through Chrome or any other browser. Again, iOS is still on its way. Make sure to go over and do so right now. And then also, if you have never been here, make sure to go over to our website. Our website is very easy to navigate. You will just look for today's thumbnail, and you'll be able to get to a full bibliography. So every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to show you here today is over on the website. That way you know exactly where this information is coming from. We, again, try to archive all of our sources. That way you can go back and check our work no matter when you're watching this video. Which, by the way, speaking of when you watch it, a lot of the replay watchers that will end up watching tomorrow, I want to thank last night's or today's replay watchers because there was a lot of great people that ended up doing super thanks. Super thanks is a lot newer, but again, for those of you that did those super thanks, I appreciate it. Essentially, how it basically works is people from the replay can support the show by basically pinning a comment to a part of the live show. So it's really, really cool, and it's really cool when I go back, I can actually look at the part they were looking at and what they were commenting on. So Raised Spirit, thank you again. Too bad you didn't make the live show, but I'm glad you made the replay. Says, you're always on point with foresight and know of events. I hope you're never made a target for what you do. Peace to you and Dex, families included. Thank you, mods, keeping the peace. Dr. Casey, thank you. And then my mornings would not be the same without watching your replay as I get ready for work. Thank you for working so hard. Deliver us good reporting to us. Hey, thank you, Dr. Casey. Kelly2334, thanks. And then Diane Moses, thanks and thank you. Appreciate your support. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have a ton to talk about. Remember, today is a call-in show, so it's going to be a little bit more chill here because remember, you can actually call in at 2244-00-MARF. That number is going to be floating right down below me.
And of course, you can call in and press option 4 and get a hold of Dex. If you want to talk about any of these subjects or anything else, let us know, especially if you have information regarding what is going on in the world and it's like ironclad. Give us a call, 2244-00-MARF. Also, if you have videos, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. If you've seen something crazy, 20 jets flying over you on a Tuesday, send it to us over there on marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo, or call in right now. We can actually get videos on this show while we're live. So Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage in LA. Now, this is pretty crazy because obviously we've talked about some of the controversy surrounding Dave Chappelle and his comments basically on different genders and the people that may dress as others. It says that Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage in LA after woke activists tried to cancel him for jokes about the trans community. It says Dave Chappelle was last night attacked on stage while filming a Netflix special in Los Angeles. Jamie Foxx, who was watching the show from the wings of the Hollywood Bowl, rushed on stage along with security to detain the attacker. It's pretty funny that, like, I guess, well, from the wings of the Hollywood Bowl, it's like somebody like Jamie Foxx can just run up there because it's Jamie Foxx. If a random guy went up there to help, he would be tackled as well. It says video from the Netflix Is a Joke event shows a man charging onto the stage and tackling the comedian before he is dragged off by security. Chappelle then jokes it was a man's man. It follows controversy in America over his man's jokes and saw a protest staged by Netflix staff of all people. And the reason I say that is they kept the movie Cuties on there, but then walked out over this one, and comes weeks after Will Smith attacked Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars. Now, it said something here. I didn't know if this was correct because I didn't see the actual show, but one of the clips said that at this same show that Chris Rock may have performed afterwards. I don't know if that is true, and that he may have joked. He said that the attacker was Will Smith. Now, of course, that is a complete joke. Pretty funny and off the cuff for him to say that, but I didn't know that he was doing shows with Chappelle. I don't know if this was a huge kind of thing where they were all performing, but again, that's what it said. It said that Chris Rock actually came on after to do his set and joked that the attacker was Will Smith, which is pretty funny considering the situation. But what is even crazier, though, is this guy had a fake. What they said, and this is what they said, that it was a fake bang bang with a knife hidden inside. And they said that he got it past and into the show, and they don't know how he did it. Well, I don't know if they had metal detectors and maybe this thing was plastic, but the knife would be, metal. They said it was a real knife inside of a fake bang bang. It's like, it kind of, shook my brain that they put a knife in a bang bang to conceal it to try to get through. It's like, did he have a concealed weapons permit? You still wouldn't be allowed to go into a venue like that. So I don't understand it, but that's what they said. And they are attacking him over his words, over his jokes. He, of course, has caused much controversy over his views on this, but nobody deserves the violence. I mean, we went through that debate with the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock. Their words, right? Sticks and stones and knives, hidden in fake bang bangs will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. So pretty crazy stuff, and I guess once I see the clip, I want to see the clip, but from the pictures and the stills, it almost looks like, Dave Chappelle himself took the guy out. I don't know. They said that security went up and tackled the guy, but one thing I thought about is Dave Chappelle was like super roided up lately, and he's been huge. I don't know if he's as huge as he was, but the dude is no joke. He was buff and yoked out for a while, so he's a formidable guy now. So what do you think about this? Do you think it is a distraction? Do you think that this is real deal, like somebody just completely far on one direction that's actually attacking people for their commentary? It's pretty nuts. And then steak prices will keep rising, major U.S. meat packer says. So this kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about on our Marfoogle News short, which again, it was kind of confusing because we have to set this show up beforehand, which means that the chat is open. And I hope a lot of people ended up going over there. If you didn't, make sure to go over there and watch that whole video after this show. But we talked about a very special tick, a tick that is in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area that can actually bite you. And once it does, your body elicits a response and creates this immune response to where you are allergic to red meat. I mean, this is like mind-blowing stuff and out of the real theory files, whereas after you get bit with this thing, you won't essentially be able to eat red meat. If you think about the goals that they have, and they have told us openly that they want to have us down to 8 ounces of steak, a month by 2030, that they want to basically do away with, cows and farms and real meat, and they want to go over and move over to fake meat. So it's pretty insane to think so. And then, of course, their thing is that these cows create methane, which changes the world and all of this. So as far as this goes, though, this is yet another story on top of that regarding food and prices. As we know that Foogle fam members and the family have sent us pictures of the prices, the insane prices, little pieces of steak for $30, $40. You're talking about just, or what was it, like $20 a pound, $25 a pound, I heard. Somebody said 32. I don't know if that was actually correct, but, we're getting up there. And now they're saying it's going to be even more. It says beef will be getting even more expensive at U.S. grocery stores in the months ahead, according to one of the country's biggest meat packers. It says National Beef Company, controlled by the Brazilian giant Marfrig, it literally has Marf in the name. Global Foods sees relatively stable margins in the next 2 quarters, according to Kim Klein, who heads Marfrig's U.S. operations. Maybe they'll start a show called Marfoogle. That means even though their costs to buy cattle are increasing, the company will ultimately be able to pass that on to consumers in the form of pricier steaks and burgers. If cattle prices will go up, and beef prices will go up with them, Klein said during his earnings interview. The cost of meat has been a focus of consumers grappling with the fastest inflation in 4 decades. Think about that. In the last 40 years, we have not had inflation like this. For those that were saying, just a few months before this, that hyperinflation was coming, soon, it's almost like they knew something was headed our way. It says that the average price for ground beef in America grocery stores has jumped 18% from a year ago. That's a 20% rise on these things. That's huge. It says, according to the government data, American shoppers may adapt to inflation by switching to less expensive cuts. Or they'll switch to fake meat, to genetically modified Impossible burgers. No joke, it's like, if steak was $100 per steak, how many regular people would be even eating it? Probably nobody. And we're talking about $100 for a tiny piece of the crappiest cut. That's where it is heading. And people think that I'm joking. It says Marfrig beat analyst estimates for earnings before items and revenue, posting a record for a first quarter. U.S. operations drove the gains, while South America's unit started a recovery amid booming Chinese demand and improving cattle supply in Brazil, according to Miguel Galarte, who heads operations in the region. Marfrig's slaughterings in Brazil rose 20% in the quarter, the double compared with the industry average, Galarte said. So, that's weird. It said net income fell 61% from a year ago due to a non-cash loss on the mark-to-market mark-to-market of its stake in the food giant BRAFSA starting next quarter. Marfoogle will add BRF earnings to its balance sheet, according to Chief Financial Tang David. So pretty freaking crazy there. As far as meat prices, most of you already have been priced out. I mean, now steak is at the point where it's already a treat. But imagine where you're talking about $1,000 steak, and that sounds like something out of science fiction or something crazy. But that's where they're saying that this is going to go. A steak would be something like, a $500 bottle of champagne. Like, you would only do a steak for somebody's most important, retirement or something, and get them a steak for their retirement. Which, again, a lot of people celebrate with steaks now. Think about it: if in as little as 8 years, you were actually limited to one piece of meat that was 8 ounces, and you had to pick. You can't have a hamburger and a steak. It says microchip shortage anticipated to last into next year, says Auto Leaders. Before I get to that, thank you, J.R. Pale Horse. Says shout out to the boys at Warnsman Construction and everyone from Sterling, Colorado. Warnsman Construction. That was weird. Thank you again. Shout out to the boys at Warnsman Construction and everyone from Sterling, Colorado area listening to Reply. What's going on? Hey, thank you. And I love how many people listen to this from their from work, like truck drivers and warehouse guys. And we get letters from people that say that their whole warehouse listens. It's kind of crazy, because when I used to work in a warehouse and I would redo the electrical stuff, and I would snip off power cord inverters for these huge blowers, and we would listen to the same show every day, and we would all circle around the electrical table and splice our power cords and stuff and listen to the same show. So it's kind of insane to me that people listen to me. Again, really, really cool. Thank you guys for listening to us. We really appreciate it. Microchip shortage anticipated to last into next year, Auto Leaders say. And they are talking about the semiconductor chips. We may be in a new conflict by next year. So I definitely believe this. This is one story that is pretty easy to verify, as far as what is going on with Taiwan, what is going on with logistics, what is going on with gas, what is going on with food, what is going on with pretty much everything as far as these chips go. It says a global semiconductor shortage, which has led to the equivalent of nearly a year of layoffs for local Stellantis auto workers, will likely continue into next year, according to some industry officials. A shortage of semiconductors, which are used in electronics and vehicles, has caused several automakers to halt or slow production over the past 2 years. It says, according to Unifor Local 444, this microchip shortage has led to 44 weeks of canceled shifts for workers at the Windsor assembly plant. Industry's officials have previously told CBC News that semiconductor companies diverted production to consumer electronics during the worst of CV slowdown in the auto sales in the spring of 2020. So they actually diverted production to consumer electronics. At the time, global automakers were forced to close plants to prevent the spread of invisible, but even since those companies have recovered, there still aren't enough chips to meet demand. One thing about this is we don't physically see the shortage. We see the items on the shelf. We don't notice that they're $15, $20, $30 more. But then the things when you're talking about, normally it's just this constant factory of these things being made. After we run out of all of these crazy supplies that they were building for things, and after they go through their back stock, that's when it really starts hitting, and you will start to see huge shortages in the electronics, normal electronics. You're talking about TVs, you're talking about monitors, you're talking about radios, you're talking about as far as car parts and motors and any little thing. They say that the average car has over 100 of these, in some cases over 150 of these micro semiconductor chips. and now there's an extreme shortage. So much so that they can't even build the cars, and they're shutting down these factories. So this is no good for anybody. And if you saw, President JB told us that Intel, and had Intel come into a speech and say, I want to introduce you to Intel. They're going to be making a semiconductor chip here in the United States. Yeah, America, F yeah. And we're going to be making everything in America again. That's where we're going. Yes, JB, the current prez, is the one who said, we're going back to Made in America. Why? Ask yourself that. Why are we not going to have that semiconductor chip factory for much longer? Will it not be? It's a free agent right now. It's selling to everybody, and it's not controlled by Xi. Are we not going to have Taiwan here soon? That's my question to you. What do you think? They're handing out where the shelters are in Taiwan. The military is handing out pamphlets where the local shelters are, and they're placing mines outside their beach, which you normally don't do until right before that happens. But, maybe it will all blow over, and, Vlad will go home, and everything will just go back to normal. Because, it's ever going to go back to normal. Judah P., what's going on? Thank you for the support. And then from Australia, from down under, Tasdare, thank you so much for your support today. By the way, Blue Dazzlebrug, Ryan, and Natty, thank you so much for your support. Pew Pew, Sunblast 2, moderate solar flares in time for Star Wars days. It says, our sun merrily blasted 2 moderate-sized solar flares in time for Star Wars Day. Auroras are likely not our destiny yet. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory recorded 2 M-class flares or outbursts that peaked on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and on Wednesday, May 4th at 5 a.m. Earth wasn't quite in firing range of the stellar-sized cannon, so it's unlikely we will see a sky show. The culprit was a new sunspot called AR 3004, which also sent off a larger X-class explosion on the limb of the sun earlier on Tuesday. It is rotating within range of Earth and will be increasingly geo-effective as it points towards our planet. So I haven't talked to Wages about this one in particular yet, but I do know that once these come around and these are aiming towards Earth, we are way past what was forecasted. This new solar cycle, for those of you that don't pay attention to any of the solar weather, this new solar cycle, the 25, is one of the, possibly could be one of the worst solar cycles we've ever had. A long time, everybody was talking about solar minimum. We are no longer in that point, and we are basically in this point where this new cycle also lines up with multiple cycles at the end of inside the cycle. There's 11 on average around 11 years. That cycle also has, it goes 11, 11, 11, 11. Then there's cycles in that huge, bigger cycle. So say every 6 cycles, you'll see this pattern. Every 10 cycles, you'll see this pattern. We are at one, since they've been monitoring it for almost 400 years, we are possibly going to see another massive event. They are saying that it's going to peak in 2023 to 2024, and we may very well see some craziness. Now, again, it is 2022 already, which is just insane to say. We are in the year 2022. Just think about that. But we are now a year away. In the next year, we will possibly see sun flares that could very well knock out our grid. And I'm not trying to exaggerate or anything. This is what people have talked about for 10 years now. And it always seemed so far off. It's 10 years down the road. Now we're here. We're at the crossroads of all of these different other theories that have happened, as far as 2024 being this thing that so many different theories kind of line up in 2024. I've talked about this for 4 years, and audience, please tell if you've been with me for a long time, we've shown you all of the different events that are possible. In fact, all of the news is going to start like rotating around this cycle of all these crazy events that happen on an average of 175 years or 100 or 4,000 years. All these weird events line up in the next couple years. And I'm talking about from like planet alignments to solar eclipses, to flooding, to moon events, to this and that. All of them are lining up in the next couple years. We are in an absolutely crazy time. It's really a blessed time to live. I love the whatever title or the book cover. Ilea suggested a book on her Twitter. And it said, it said something to Ilea. If you can post what it is, it's basically said like, I'm not afraid of the end anymore. It was like loving the apocalypse or something, I'm no longer scared, and I have found a way to love the apocalypse or something. Basically, like once you're past the fear and once you're past all that, it's like this is an exciting time to live. Especially if you have any kind of faith of where you might be going next and you're not scared of dying, then this becomes less fear-mongering and more like, when's the show start? That sounds crazy, but I mean, think about the time we are living in. We just saw CV, which, think about this, that was a worldwide event that none of us will ever forget, and I'll never forget what they did. But you know who will? The history books. They will put in there whatever they want. Again, it says NASA did not give specific guidance about the event beyond its usual warnings about the possible effects of auroras affecting power lines and other infrastructure. So the big thing is this is actually going to be rotating, and within a few days, it's going to be towards us. If this puts out another one like it put out a couple days ago, could be potentially dangerous. And then, again, when we have talked about solar, we've talked about solar for years because we do believe as a prepper-centered news that this is going to be something that affects people. Again, if you haven't already, we highly recommend, if you are worried about it, it's not only just talking about the problem, but talking about the solution. I would highly recommend going over to EMP Shield. You can go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP to protect yourself. You can protect your house, your cars, your solar systems, of course, your ham radio, your motorcycles, your boats, whatever you want to keep running after an EMP or a CME, the natural kind from the sun, you would want to put an EMP shield on it. This can actually ground the signal in 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. The most popular version, which many Foogle family already have on their cars, prevents your car from being affected from all three phases of an EMP, and of course the CMEs. So when everybody else's car stops, these people will still be driving. Now again, hopefully they will be able to get past all of those dead cars. That's the one thing I think about, is even if my car still runs, and some of the cars that don't actually need it, there's certain cars that don't. I just think about like what if if you are in traffic and all those other cars stop, are you even going to be able to move? Either way, make sure to go protect yourself. It's better to be protected than to be wide open. marfooglenews.com/EMP. That's $50 off on every device that you get, and that stacks. So again, you can get 2 devices, 3 devices. If you get 2 devices, that's $100 off. If you get 3 devices, that's $150 off. All right, and then before we talk about supply chain snags create shortages of life-saving medical supplies in the U.S., we're going to try to get our next caller on, and it looks like Dex has been busy. Let's see here. We have Justin True talking about Vladian surveillance ship off of the coast of Hawaii and other vessels. Hey, first of all, Justin True, just want to say what's going on, and thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Thanks for having me again. It's been all quiet over here, so I haven't really figured there's any reason to call, but this has kind of been first time I saw it myself. I kind of got shaken, dude. We have give you a little backstory, man. We have a 36-foot fishing vessel that my family takes out on the weekends, and we just go hang out off this point, kind of off of the north side of Big Island in Hawaii. And everybody that goes near this buoy, all the fishermen, they all go out there early in the morning. There's tons and tons of these fishing boats. Started saying that there's these large vessels that nobody could hail, and the Coast Guard was following it. And we everybody saw this giant vessel that nobody could identify, and the Coast Guard and these massive surveillance Army planes or Air Force planes or possibly naval planes were following around. And it kind of hit me because for weeks and weeks we've been hearing in the news how there's been Vlad naval presence in the area. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks that was them, and it was a surveillance vessel. So they confirmed that they had spot with single surveillance vessel and possibly submersible vehicles as well. And that's, dude, we're talking like 10 miles off the coast of Maui and Big Island.
So I'm sorry, did you guys, you or somebody actually saw this with your own eyes?
Yeah, no, it was us. It was me, my brother, my cousin, my dad. We all go fishing a couple times a week, and we all went out to that buoy, that very, very north buoy, and we saw it ourselves. And it was a massive boat that looked like it had a military build, but it was not a United States vessel. I'm familiar with U.S. vessels. Around here, you see them all the time. You'll see the strategic strike groups, the rear strike groups. You'll see all kinds of reconnaissance vessels. That big golf ball I called about maybe 3 years ago. Remember I called about that golf ball 4 years ago? It's, there's all kinds of cool stuff, but this looked different. It was obviously different. And when we got back to shore and everybody was talking about it, and, even boats over radio was where everybody was discussing it, we got back and it turns out that it had been officially spotted as a Vlad naval vessel. And they identified one ship. I forgot what the name of that vessel was, but there was at least 3 or 4 other vessels that were in the area. And it was gnarly, dude. It was the first time I've ever seen any other military's vessels in my life. I've never seen any of that. So it was imposing, to say the least.
So would you say, you say it's surveillance, so it's kind of a military style, but it's not, you don't see cannons on it. Basically, it's a huge Russian surveillance kind of sea vessel, or did you see weapons on it?
No, there wasn't any weapons that we could spot. Everything that we saw on it was communications or navigations. We didn't see anything on it. Like there's the 40 millimeter, 30 millimeter. There's all these anti-aircraft, and then there's a massive amount of armaments on everything else that we see. When they go by, we're like, oh, cool, look at that. Whatever the ship is. But with this, we couldn't see any offensive measures. But it was freaky because you don't hear often when we're out here in Hawaii, but who we worry about all the time is those red guys over to our east. And so we see something like this is the very first thing that a lot of the I'm a vet, but I'm one of the younger vets, and the first thing that the older vets, because they stay in communication, they're much more intelligent than us young folk, but they started putting together some ideas of maybe these for Vlad's vessels were coming out here doing surveillance for pre-operations. Here in Hawaii, not only 60 years ago, I think was 70 years ago, another nation in the Pacific used surveillance. And then shortly after, it was one of the largest attacks on American soil. So to see a rather large, for the very first time, historically, for the very first time, and another country's surveillance vessels here so close to the Hawaiian coast is crazy. I mean, the last time this happened, that was so close and was such a large group that was spotted and verified, told to the public, was Japan.
And then Pearl Harbor.
And we all know what happened after that.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know what? I'm not sure, because there's a lot of story behind that. That FF, that we knew about it, we just allowed it to happen. There's another side that thinks that we completely engineered it. However you think about it, what I started thinking about is, would the public would have even known about these vessels being there if it wasn't for the amount of fishermen and how close to the coast that these lad vessels got? Because there's over here, it's quite common. I mean, almost every other person here on Maui has a boat. Big Island, almost everybody has a boat. That's why people live in Hawaii, is to get out on the water in some way, some fashion. And our thought was, would they even told us if none of us saw it and nobody was talking about it? So, but it was definitely strange. We've never seen anything like I've been on this island my entire life, 33 years now, and I've never seen anything like that. We've heard of Chinese vessels, being 10, 20 miles off the coast, and them not being trading or merchant vessels, but not being able to be confirmed what their identity or what their purpose was. This is something different. We're told who they're from, what they're doing. It's a time of extended alertness levels, and these are here specifically for surveillance and information gathering.
Yeah, that is.
And this is the fleet, dude. This is the fleet. What we got here in Pearl Harbor, this is the United States presence in the Pacific Ocean. You have Micronesia, Samoa, a little bit of a naval presence in Guam. That's more of an air base. But I mean, the biggest hurdle for if anything was to happen with that little island off of big country's coast, then this would be the biggest resistance.
What if that Russian ship is surveilling for Xi? You know what I mean? Like, they're working together and they're passing information back, and maybe Xi is planning on taking Taiwan soon. I don't know, something's
and that's probably what's happening. That's most likely what's happening. If there's going to be any moment for Xi if he's planning any kind of immediate movements, then he has to know exactly what is over here, because this would be the staging ground for sending anything over there. A good way to figure out what's in his neck of the woods that could be hiding from him is to figure out what's over here, the closest naval base to where they would send things to him. If it's over here, it's not over there. And if it's not over here, then it's definitely over there. So the surveillance is what is very telling. The time and the place is very telling to what they're trying to accomplish, I believe.
I'm sure you followed, but were you aware that they moved the Iron Dome, which a lot of people, when they think Iron Dome system, they think of the middle E. Did you know that they moved the Iron Dome to Guam? Yeah, I was reading about that on Stratfor. Stratfor is a really good military site, but yeah, that's interesting. That's a system that I heard was actually it's replaced. So those M600s, I believe, are what's that system? That system's built out of, that surface to air. I believe that is actually being replaced by the more current Lockheed air defense system. But yeah, them moving it is big because they've relied on that for 20 years, 25 years, however long it's been. So, right when they got everybody out of Afghanistan, when they pulled everybody out so quickly, I believe I am not alone in this, that some of us thought, like, why did they do it so quickly? Why did they get their men, and everybody back so quickly? And they did leave gear. They left stuff. They just said, hey, we're getting out of here. And then we moved the Iron Dome right around then. I mean, it was seriously like within that region. Now, the Iron Dome, surface to air, there's other things that we cannot say, but they're regarding this same kind of thing. These are being moved
Right.
all over the place. So what are they preparing for? You know what I mean?
Right. It's not status quo. Everybody's played Risk, right? And everybody has a little bit of military tactics awareness. If you have status quo for years and years and years, then all of a sudden you have some of the biggest military movements we've seen since Vietnam, since Pulse, WW2. Something's about to happen. Either some side realizes that the other person's about to make a move, or someone's making a move themselves. Nobody makes these massive naval exercises, these massive land exercises in Europe. You have off the coast of Africa, because the One Boat, One Road initiative with China, with that Eastern country, with the G, they keep building and putting out massive naval presence over there that it's and all the way down to the Australian coast. So there's a presence in the Australian coast ready to be pushed, build up there. There's a build up off the coast of Taiwan. There's a build up, all of the massive foot build up in Europe. And then you have, Pacific surveillance. I mean, anybody who's seen a documentary on World War II, on WW2, understands and knows that this has happened before. If it barks like a duck and quacks like a duck, or if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck. And, this should be apparent to everybody. I mean, these tactical moves and military buildups have happened in history before. And every time they happen, especially if you couple it with the economic moves, then it's almost a guarantee. There's probably a statistician out there that can tell us the exact percentage of a global conflict that's going to, happen. I mean, if you put the economic background with these military movements, and that is a catalyst for, a large conflict, in my opinion, and in almost every historian's opinion. But yeah, I thought I'd let you know about that, the surveillance vessels off the coast over here. I thought that was worth mentioning.
And by the way, Encoded says, if it barks like a duck, run. But yeah, if it barks, if it's a duck that's barking, I'm like, where's Elon? Is it some sort of weird animal?
It's the African barking duck.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much. Laura Griffith actually asked for us to make a short of this video. We very well might. Actually, thank you. Great suggestion. Well, thank you. Justin True, if you guys haven't checked out his channel, he has put together quite a good plethora of videos over there, so make sure to go over and check him out. We will put his link over on marfooglenews.com. Justin, hey, from person to person, thank you for being a good dude. Thank you for being just all around thinking with logic and not everything else. So I appreciate you, and thank you so much for sticking with us.
Yeah, likewise, dude. I definitely appreciate it. Love you guys, and love the entire Foogle fam, and I pray for you and your family and your health as well. So thanks, man. Appreciate it. You have a good evening.
You too. Justin True has basically stuck through no matter what drama we've gone through, no matter what people have said about me. He's been here since the very beginning. So I really do appreciate people that, see past all of the garbage and they are still here. So a lot of you guys have been here since literally like the beginning, since I was in my break room at work where I was wearing suit and ties every video because I was literally on my break. So thank you, everybody. I do appreciate all of you. And but this is something that, I hate that it's considered fear-mongering to talk about this stuff. They're moving Iron Dome systems. They're pulling military. They're moving people all over. And the majority of people, I think that it's an easy out. It's an easy out for them to say, fear-mongering, it's not happening. Nothing ever happens. You see that a lot, especially on Twitter. Oh, nothing ever happens. Really? What about the freaking crazy stuff that has happened? What about all of the events? Remember, the beginning of CV. Now, you might have an opinion about it now, but before it happened, we knew it was going to happen. And this is no joke for anybody that has just joined, I was at the very first case. The first case of CV out of the billions that are out there now, or whatever it is, I was at the first U.S. case. right here, and I was at that hospital following the entire thing. I also called it before it happened, and that's because, like I said, you didn't need a crystal ball. The W, the H, and the O was putting out data saying it was coming, and they were doing all these weird movements. Look at these weird movements. Don't be afraid of this. Address it. If you have, if you had a tornado, if you get a tornado warning, and they're saying it's coming right at you, do you sit in your living room? Do you go to your window and wait for it and wave at it? Or do you go down in your basement? If you know there's a problem coming, you try to avoid it. This is a problem, and this is coming. And people, at some point, for the last, 4 years, for a couple years, I was really afraid of being called a fearmonger or warmonger. I'm not, it's like, I guess I'm less afraid to tell people like this is what's going to happen. My 100% view, my view is it's going to happen. But my mind has been changed on like who's doing it or what the real purpose of it is or who's actually involved. But at the same point, even if they're all high-fiving behind closed doors, I think it's still happening. I know it's going to happen. That's how confident I am in my thoughts. What do you guys think? You think that this is all going to blow over and we're never going to have another world conflict? Even though right now so many things have to shift in just the next 5 to 8 years. Everything has to shift for them to go with the current narrative. You're talking about running out of natural resources in as little as 30 years. And we're talking about some in as little as 10 years. You're talking about in less than 10 years, in 8 years, which if you think about it, 8 years ago was 2016. No, is that right? It is 2014. In that little amount of period. Think about this. When T-Man was elected, that was 2016. That's 6 years ago, right? And in just about that, around that same time period, which time has just flown by, that is where you get 2030. 2028, 2030. This is where they're saying that all of these things are going to change in that small amount of time, and you don't think that something's going to happen? Something like this, a world conflict, would restructure the whole planet. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe they need to restructure where we live, how we live. Oh, and then if you realize what AI and what these companies have done with AI, and I'm not kidding you, automation, robots, and AI, people don't see it as a threat. They see it as a science fiction film. We're talking about replacing every job, including artists. If you're a painter, that's even going to be done by robots. I'm not kidding you. This stuff is scary as it is. Yeah, there's a reason why Elon is saying, you'd be better off if you get just an adjusted stipend. If you get an amount of money every month. They're going to be harvesting people like in the Matrix, and that's a real thing now. I mean, that they can literally make artificial wombs. These things are all coming to pass. If Jesus was going to come back, he's going to come back soon. Supply chain snags create shortages of life-saving medical supplies in U.S. Crazy stuff. It says an unprecedented strain on American healthcare systems is expected to worsen. Lori Lee spends a lot of time trying to keep Connecticut's largest health system stocked with medical supplies from IV lines to gauze bandages. It's a job that has gotten increasingly harder as unprecedented snarls have tied up the supply chain in knots. It says, quote, there are probably hundreds of outages of items that we order that do not come in, says Lee, Senior Vice President of Clinical Operations at Yale New Haven Health. Yale. Skull and Bones. which has annual revenue of $5.6 billion and hospitals in Bridgeport and Greenwich. She says that the list of shortages includes basics such as IV tubing and catheters, which are used constantly in hospitals. It says with just-in-time ordering, the health system relies on distributors to deliver supplies quickly rather than hospitals keeping them in stock. Many of those things on a daily basis don't show up. She's resorted to having her team of doctors and nurses search for substitutes, which requires training nurses in the slight differences in how they might operate. This is not really like Coke and Pepsi, Lee says. It's a massive, massive effort every day that we're really struggling with. Think about that. When stuff like this starts getting shorted out, we are really screwed. And then Elon Musk could make some Twitter users pay a slight fee to tweet. Will you be affected? Elon Musk is planning to make good on his promise to find new revenue streams for Twitter. It says that Twitter's new owner is weighing adding a fee for certain accounts. Musk has publicized a few plans to cut costs and raise revenue once his takeover of Twitter is official. He's plotting to cut board salaries, which would save the company $3 million, and he's flirted with the idea of charging a use fee for media companies that embed tweets for from verified accounts. It says, adding the perception that Musk is a man of the people, his latest plans do not involve instituting fees against the regular user. So I don't know if I would fall under this category, but if I'm a media company and I post a video, or if I'm posting a lot of stuff that would take up their bandwidth, I would be paying a fee. I might pay $20 a month to be able to post videos. So I don't know. In theory, this actually sounds like a good thing, as far as it might change things a little bit. It might be less overused, and people would think about what they were posting, or companies would think about what they were posting if it was limited. Or it says Musk has also mused making alterations to Twitter Blue, a paid premium tier of the platform first introduced in 2021, which I actually did not even know about that. What about the blue check mark? Like, how about making that attainable for normal people? The reason why that check mark matters, one, is that it's verified. First of all, the fact that anybody can make the same name, that's why people like us need check marks. I mean, it's craziness. It says, according to financial analysts at the Motley Fool, Twitter's free cash flow, a metric for determining a company's cash on hand, is at an all-time low. Well, whatever's going to happen there, I don't know. But, one thing, too, is like, by the way, just a reminder while I'm thinking about that, about a month ago, and this has happened to Jacob Israel and several others, there was I believe a Middle East company or a company from India that does these scams where they actually will take somebody's exact logo, they'll take their name, they will type it into YouTube, they'll make an account, and they'll make their profile that looks just like mine, and then they'll go in and they'll say like comments. One of them was a scam that was asking for people to donate to some other country, and they were pretending to be me, and they did like a basic level of research, and they were like, praise Jesus, I am Christian, I would like you to donate to such and such. And I was like, this is such an obvious scam that 99.9% of people are like, this is clearly not Marf. They first think that I'm hacked and then go, oh, it's a fake account. But it's like, for stuff like that, you would think we would easily be able to get a check mark or a verification. But it's not. They have made it harder for anybody in this niche to get any kind of verification because they don't want us here in the first place. So if you see anything, just a general reminder, anything with Jacob Israel's name, or if Jacob Israel is saying something to you in a comment sending you to donate to something, don't do it. It's not us. Or Global Witness or Survival Living or Magic Prepper or anybody. Just don't do it. Secret surveillance, mining customer data, how retailers help bag shoplifting kingpins. It says that Robert Whitley smiled wide as he showed off the mountains of merchandise inside his sprawling warehouse. There were stacks of paper towels that rose to the ceiling, enough Huggies diapers to supply daycare, and large vats of blue and green laundry detergent of a mysterious provenance. At the right price, I don't care what it is, it's gonna sell. Whitley, a 71-year-old grandfather with a salt and pepper mustache, said during a recent tour of his facility. He says he may not fit the profile of a crime boss, but federal prosecutors have described Whitley, who goes by Mr. Bob, is a leader of a multi-million-dollar shoplifting ring. Crazy stuff. It said from 2011 to 2019, he sold more than $6 million worth of stolen goods, everything from razors to Rogaine to teeth whitening strips on Amazon and other online marketplaces. According to court papers, prosecutors said he paid professional shoplifters to steal specific items from drugstores, supermarkets, and big box retailers across Georgia. The case against Whitley was built not just by federal agents, but corporate investigators with CVS, Target, and Publix, representing the kind of collaboration that has grown more prevalent amid what the industry groups say is a historic spike in organized retail crime. So I absolutely know about this personally because like I told you, all of the local places, anybody that lives here in Washington or around Seattle knows this. Now, these people will actually go in with carts and they will come out with full carts of stuff and they will just walk right out the door. And since when CV started, it got really bad to the point where you would see somebody with a full cart of Lego. So and I'm not kidding. And they specifically go for Lego because they're high ticket items. They keep their value and they're very, a lot of people want them. They'll buy them for their kids, whatever else, and they're an expensive item that nobody really wants to pay what Lego is charging. So if it's $100, if you can get it for $25, you can. Well, I actually, I was in if you go to any Target, there's like 8 doors. I was in the middle door and the binger went off and this guy came out and he slammed into me and he ran past me. And he ended up getting tackled by police. And what happened is normally they don't tackle you. And I found out about all this crazy stuff. So it turns out that that Target has a forensics team. They ended up having me be a witness because the guy got up and basically elbowed the cop in the face. And I got in the middle of this and I was talking to the police. And they said that Target has a forensics team, and it's a whole office, and it's a building in somewhere else where they actually look at fingerprints, they look at facial recognition, they look at all this stuff. But get this, they will let you steal. So say if you steal a $1 DVD, they will let you steal 500 of them until you reach that legal limit for the felony. Now, some of these guys are getting away with much more than that. They'll steal one TV and they reach that limit, but they still will not stop them. If there's no cop present and they don't have armed security, they will not actually try to stop them. So what they are getting people is these organized retail crimes, and what these homeless and drug addicts are doing is they are going in just ruthless, loading up whole aisles of stuff, putting in full coffee makers, everything else, and then they go back and then they separate it out, and there's small groups of these guys, and they're part of these crews. And they then sell it, and there's always somebody that, and he says, the cop said to me that there's always somebody they end up selling it to. Like, there's all these guys, and they said that even cartel members are involved in this stuff. I thought this was absolutely fascinating. So they'll go and they'll sell it to somebody for 20% of what it's worth, and then those people will basically collect it, and they will go from 5 different cities and go to all the drug addicts and all of the homeless that are stealing, and they will collect it every single day. So I not only do I believe this, I think that this is just absolutely insane that this guy got away with it for so long. Because he's basically like, well, only if it's legal kind of thing. Like he's buying it off these guys knowing that it's illegal, but he's saying, oh, well, yeah, sure. Turning a blind eye to the security sticker that's still on it, or the spider web cords that are still wrapped around it with the beeping thing going off. It says, Whitley said, where I come from, I'm just trying to make a living. Yeah. Just the other night, I was in a Target, and somebody went up with one of those 30-pound weights. Those bell weights that you lift like this, and went up to the GoPro case and just smashed it. It was such a loud boom. Everybody thought it was an explosion. 2 employees got down on the floor. Obviously the guy loaded up all the GoPros, and then he went out through the actual warehouse part of it, and they told him, they go, no, go out through that door. And they told him, go through the emergency exit, not the back. So they said, just go. And yet you'll see this now. They just tell him to walk out. So, well, me and you are paying, we're paying our hard-earned money. They just walk out. It's disgusting. I get that there's empathy for the homeless and people that are struggling, but this kind of thing, it's like, it's garbage. I have to say, man, it's rough when you see a whole cart of something going out, and then you're buying 1 or 2 things, and inflation has you paying $250 for, how much does that get you in groceries now? It's insanity. Dex, let's get our next caller. By the way, that was in Georgia, Dex. I don't know. You should go. 71 years old, and he's pimping the stolen goods. Crazy stuff. Dex, while you get our next caller on, I'm going to pull up prep. Again, marfooglenews.com/prep. If you do want to get yourself lined up as far as all of your ducks in a row, I'd highly recommend going over to the Essentials of Life at marfooglenews.com/prep. This is powered by My Patriot Supply. Essentially, they have long-term survival food sealed in MREs, in bags that are ready to eat, when you need them, and then also double sealed into buckets. Right now, they have a $150 off on a 3-month supply, which was extended. That discount will not last forever. Again, that is on a 3-month supply, but they do have smaller supplies. If you just want to get a couple weeks of food, or if you just want to get a couple MREs, you can. And then, of course, they have iodine tablets and the Alexa Pure Pro. That's marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that will also help our channel as well. Thank you, everybody that supported. All right, let's get our caller. It looks like we have Sean. You're live.
Hey, Marf. How you doing, man?
So what's going on, Sean? You want to talk about the plant fires and the blood moon?
Yeah, we can start with the blood moon. I don't know if you heard about it. That's coming up. It should be on the 16th or 15th. The reason I wanted to ask you about it is just because the anniversary of Israel is around that same time. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
To be honest, a lot of the Cosmo events, I actually don't follow them closely enough to know them before they're happening. I know about like a couple of eclipses that are going on, but I know as much as the average person does, before the news reports it. So that's just being honest. I don't follow.
Gotcha.
It is a fascinating subject. Like I always cover it once it happens, or a week before it happens. But as far as the blood moon system and stuff like that, I'm not familiar with.
Okay. And what do you think about I don't know if you heard about the news about the stuff burning down. Do you know when that's going to start to affect everything, like as far as the grocery stores and everything like that?
So Fugel family members who are directly involved in transportation and in basically the folks that are actually trucking and driving this stuff, and people that are part of the Department of Transportation and Logistics. We have people that are working in all these different agencies in our audience. They are saying that we will feel the effects of at least 3 of these big fires in as little as a month.
Oh, wow. Okay. Gotcha, man. Thank you, man. That's all I really had for you.
Well, that's it. Well, so by the way, it is your first time call. I want to say I appreciate you calling in. Can I ask where did you
Thank you.
Where did you find my channel?
Honestly, I just seen it on my recommended page. I watch a lot of biblical stuff and current events. So, yeah, I saw your channel on there.
All right. Well, thanks, Sean. Thanks for calling in. And if it's your first time call, don't make it your last. Okay.
Of course not, man. God bless. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Have a good day. That was Sean from Florida. What do you guys think about the blood moon? I apologize. I don't. I'm not an expert on the blood moons and things like that. I do know that they have significance in many things. So, and then we have Soros, Hillary, and Mr. Barack. Staffers, European governments are behind the anti-Musk campaign. Not Musk. Now, Dex, I'm going to bring you in here. Specifically, there's a lot of things being said right now, and of course, there's this huge push against Elon taking over Twitter. And some are even believing, thinking that this is somehow set up or something. I don't this is all part of something, right? But now we're finding out that it very well could be these big groups directly connected to all these very powerful people.
Well, yeah, and I guess what we're hearing and we're seeing is a lot of what are called NGOs creating putting up a stand or putting out a letter saying that they don't want this to happen, and basically being against Musk acquiring Twitter. So that then in turn everybody looks and says, okay, well, who are the names behind these NGOs? Who are they funded by? Who are the people? And that's when it's sort of been revealed, these names that you just listed as being some of the most well-connected and big names, especially around some of these NGOs that have been vocal about, stopping him from taking over Twitter. So, for those that believe the whole thing is just a giant show, well, then this would be part of the stage, right? Or the flip side is if you believe maybe he is actually trying to do something and he is rocking the boat, so to speak, or at least opening up the town square, as he likes to call it, then, maybe this adds some legitimacy to it, that there are certain people that are pushing against him, right?
Well, here's the thing, though. If this is somewhat public, it makes us think, okay, so these guys are the bad guys and they're against him, which makes him the good guy. What if his purpose was to buy it, to make everybody think, oh, he's saving it, but in reality, through him buying it, there's enough public outlash for them to now change laws, to bring in governance boards, and do all of these draconian measures to stop the things that he now allows. So say he specifically encourages and even has people just saying crazy stuff on Twitter. Now it's out in the public. People are saying this stuff that is obviously fake stuff. And then now they're able to then clamp down on it even harder, because now there's this general push and everybody is pushing against this whole thing. And then free speech is even clamped down on even, harder. I don't know. This is I guess there's a wish that this would be some sort of hero, but I think that Elon has so many government contracts, it's really hard to think that he's doing SpaceX for Space Force for the U.S. government. He's doing Tesla for the Tesla batteries for the grid. He's doing Neuralink possibly with the military, and he's doing, of course, the Boring Company digging tunnels under cities. So how is he not connected to the same people he's trying to supposedly go against, right?
Yeah, I mean that's an easy position to take because of his connections, right? And the flip side is look at how much he's got to risk, right? He's rocking the boat, so to speak, and he's putting it all on the line for it because if the powers that be, which currently control a lot of the government, don't like it, then they could take away or make things difficult for his other businesses. So, at the end of the day, though, certain things will still prevail when it comes to if you've got a better mousetrap, so to speak, it's going to sell, regardless of what the government does or the powers that be do, unless they do something super draconian like completely shut it down, right? Which they could. But if you look here, it's also interesting. The letter is also in this article that went out and who it was all signed by, and then there's a couple of tweets from Elon about it, basically saying who funds these organizations and that want to control your access to information. Let's investigate. And then he says sunlight is the best disinfectant. So he's personally has drawn attention to this himself, trying to shed light on who's behind this letter that originally started with Media Matters and some others, but there's a whole laundry list of organizations that have signed on to this.
Can you actually pull? Can you give me a link for the direct tweets with? And then right after that, he
scroll down. They're in the article.
Okay, he posts about the Masons though. Is that in here?
Oh no, that one's not in here. But yeah, he did. I'll find that.
Look at this. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that they. Even in this article, they left that part out, right? Right after this, after these two, he went and posted and he said something. Oh, these people. Well, he says something about the weakness of the Freemasons or something. I mean, this is crazy stuff. The richest man in the world, who's connected with all these people, is talking about the Masons on his Twitter, which you just bought, and now he's. I feel like something big is happening, and we are going to know last. That's why we're trying to look and see as far ahead as possible. It looks like you have the link there. Thank you. And then, by the way, we have Bitter Critter holding on deck, calling from Arkansas, so we'll be talking to her for a second. But here's the tweet that I was talking about. This is really just a crazy time to live in. We are in an amazing time to live in. I mean, it's bad, but it's like a car crash. It's like, you don't want to see a car crash, but you can't look away. And even nuclear bombs are beautiful if you're not in the blast radius. Says, look at this. Yeah, look at this. Ultimately, the downfall of the Freemasons was giving away their stone cutting services for nothing. What in the world? Okay, so Dex, actually, I missed this. I don't know if this was done. Oh, Focus says so. Oh, but that's because this is new. President B is requesting $33 billion for emergency funding to provide weapons and economic assistance to UKR. Dex, did you see that? Is that from yesterday?
Yeah, I think it's from the day before. I think we may have talked about it, or it's yet another. It just seems like the billions just keep flowing over there.
Well, we talked about
and over again.
We've talked about several billions of dollars, but that's another $33 billion. What if and remember how we just talked about the plants making the weapons? Taiwan, apparently Taiwan had this order for all of these tanks. We can't even give them their tanks, and they're going to be delayed years because of our crowded production lines. That we are producing so many tanks and things for something else. What in the hell is happening here? I'll tell you what I think. I think we're about to be in a full-blown war, and people are afraid of it, so they're going to deny it up until the last second. I need to catch up real quick. Thank you, everybody that has come in and support our independent news here. Be Real Beast, welcome everyone. Any code words said, ask in chat and fam will explain. God bless. Hey, Be Real Beast, thank you for doing that. That is really appreciated. Bones and Tubbs Show, crazy times and crazier times en route. Love you guys, mods and fam. Keep your heads on to swivel. Bones and Tubbs, thank you. I hope you're still creating, and thank you. Justin True, which you didn't say on the phone, said Russian ships off the coast of Hawaii, Coast Guard, Navy observing, DEFCON increased on all bases, seen from shore but followed out to sea, possible subs. That's just insane. If you joined us later after Justin True's call, join us over on Marfoogle News in the next couple days. We'll try to clip that. And then Toss Dare, thank you so much for your donation from Australia. Thank you so much. Judah P, Piercing the Wall. A 1998 Simpsons episode predicted the conflict with UKR in 2022. And a nuke that drops on 5/5, May 5th, 2022. Hold the line. You must show them the truth. Piercing the Veil. Okay, that is absolutely scary. So that would be tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen, but man. So a 1998 Simpsons episode predicted the conflict with UKR in 2022 and a nuke that drops on 5/5. I haven't seen it yet, so I haven't verified that. But how many others have they done? As South Park said, Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it. Ilea, The Disaster Diaries, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Apocalypse. I haven't read the book, and I don't know if it's actually good, Ilea. I thought it was one of the coolest covers as far as that's a beautiful message right there. Like, stop worrying. Try to love it. Every day that we're breathing is a blessing. I mean, that's how I see it. Bug Out Channel says, Adam and Dex, keep up the great work. Love y'all and Foogle fam. Bug Out Channel, thank you for supporting. And we will, again, I will try to return that. Thank you so much. Natalie D, you called it, Adam. You showed vids of military doing drills in in New York in December, right before CV started. I know. And in October and in September. Soylent Green, and that was 4 months, 5 months, 6 months before. Go back through my videos if you don't believe me. Soylent Green is people. Thank you for the rainbow. Marky Sparky. And again, Marfoogle News is the only news I use. Marky Sparky, thank you. S. Jackson. Julia Withers. Bless you, Marf and Dex, for all you do. You have been doing it since Discord. Thank you, Julia, and I appreciate you sticking around that long. And then Irish Rebel. Thank you. Massive support. You might be in the Hall of Fame now, so thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is not necessary, as I've said before. Thank you, thank you, and thank you. If I didn't know what you did, I'm glad I know what you do now, and I know you. That's not like, you cannot. You are able to do that, but you do not have to. Thank you so much. And then Dex. We got crazy stuff here going on. We have watching from space, satellites collect evidence of conflict crimes. Few developments in UKR have escaped the all-seeing eyes of satellites. From the orbital perches, Earth-watching satellites have followed the movements of troops around the country, zeroing in on strikes in contested areas and witnessing the aftermaths of attacks. It says now these eyes in the sky are gathering images in greater quantities and at higher resolutions than ever before. It says collecting what could end up as crucial pieces of evidence in investigations against potential conflict crimes, war crimes, committed by Vlad since its military assault began on February 24th. It says among the atrocities already documented from space, a 45-foot trench dug near a gold-domed church in the Kiev suburb of Bucha, where a grave was later uncovered. Overhead views of a boomed-out theater in the southern port city of Mariupol, where hundreds of women and children were sheltering from airstrikes, and most recently a series of holes that appeared outside of Mariupol, the Ukraine was a mass GRAV. Gravy, baby. It says experts say satellite imagery together with the on-the-ground photos and eyewitness accounts could be vital in providing evidence to be able to take those responsible for Vlad's alleged conflict crimes to court. So they're saying that these holes are different. Those are gravies. I guess, you know, what? How do they verify, though, that that's not like an actual... I don't know. What if that's their own people? Dex?
Well, I think they're going back. They've been recording as much information as they can, and they're going back on some of the images when they get information. Like there was allegedly a mass gravy dug up, and then they went back and tried to see if they can match up the evidence so that they could show that it actually happened there.
It's crazy to see the before and after of some of these. Here's what bothers me about all of this, and I believe why people are so skeptical, is because now computers and AI, and I'm actually talking about AI, not AI is like a all thinking, like knows it's conscious or something, but the AI programs that they are able to use now with graphics and with actual software that can create cities and lifelike places. In fact, it's going to be used in making the metaverse. They can make something like this. This is easy. And I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm just saying now they have the ability to make lifelike cities in video games, but not even, and they'll be able to make it so real that it doesn't matter if you zoom in 50 times, you will not be able to discern it from a real photo, from a real video. And we're talking about video, live frames, 60 plus frames per second. And you cannot tell it. There's not a single bit of motion blur or any, just crazy accurate. They were able to do that now. So if they did want to technically take something like this and turn it into that, this would not be hard at all. You would think that if somebody took physical pictures of it, that's proof enough. But now apparently they need satellite images as well. Or are those satellite images what they are going to use instead in lieu of pictures from the ground? UKR, Vlad denies it, plans to declare conflict on May 9th. Well, what if we secretly declare it or do some sort of big event that makes them declare it? Also, that is called the Victory Day there, or I want to say it's the Victor Day. It's where they do a huge military parade and celebrate whoever's the current dictator, as one quote called it. We talked about this yesterday briefly, but this is an expansion. Dex, do you want to talk about the expansion on this?
Well, they're denying it publicly. When we came out and said we suggested that we, as in the West, not us, but had suggested that was one of their potential outcomes, was they would do that on that day. The day is very significant to them. So they've come out publicly and denied it. I think the thing that we can discern from this is that they have a history of saying one thing and doing another. So it's not uncommon for them to make a statement and it not be true at all, 100% false. And this could be one of those statements that, again, it doesn't mean much that they're denying it. It could actually be that they're denying it because they're going to do it, right? We won't know until time passes. But this is just their official response to the West's position that they suspected they would do something on the 9th.
Okay, here's my prediction. Mark my words. Watch, in a couple days or after May 9th, if it doesn't happen, the media will say, oh, it didn't happen because we telegraphed their moves and we came out. And then they're going to say that generals were taken hostage and either taken off of the planet or something like that, because Vlad is so angry at them for telling his plans to declare it on May 9th, which anybody who studies conflict would go, yeah, well, that would make sense as far as the day, as far as symbolism, right? Watch. They're going to say, oh, he's so angry because the information got out. Or if this is at all true, what if this was real and they were planning on declaring it on the 9th and then that information leaked? I doubt that's probably the less likely of any of them. But what if that is, and it's because our country monitors everything, including cell phones and computers and everything else, and they are telegraphing it to stop them from doing it? But yeah, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, however, said there was no truth to the rumors at all. So we'll see. We'll see who is right and who is wrong. I would like to use this time to remind you, we're going to get our next caller on. It looks like we have Bitter Critter. To remind you that you can go over to marfooglenews.com/energy and you can get on the list to get yourself an Energy Flex 1500. This is an amazing solar generator, and why we suggest solar is one, they are solar, they are quiet, they are silent. No one will know you have it. In fact, mine is running right now, and it is powering this whole show. We have it as a backup. If I actually lose my power, which we missed 5 or 6 shows last year because of power outages where I am, the show will continue. My router, all of my 2 power bars, all of my lights, and all of my music gear is on one Flex 1500, and this is running it. Of course, now the coolest part about this is you can charge this through the wall. If you don't have solar panels yet, you can end up getting, say, the base unit with one battery. You can charge it with the wall and have a backup battery to power whatever you need to get by, until it runs out, and then charge it up again when the power comes back on. And the coolest part about this is it is smart enough to know multiple different ways of charging. So say if you plug in a solar panel or you plug in a wall or a car, it knows that and it can do multiple at the same time. For instance, you can plug it into the wall and solar panel at the same time. You can plug in 4 solar panels and you can actually charge this in as little as 4.5 hours to a full battery. If you use the quick charger, I believe 4 panels at 100 watts each is like 3.5 hours. With the quick charger, you can charge it from the wall in about 4.5 hours. Even cooler, this is expandable. Normally when you buy a solar generator, it is built in with a battery, and once that degrades, which it very much will over years, you are stuck with just buying a new unit. This one, not only can you switch out the battery, you can expand it up to 96 batteries. You can make a battery wall. You can literally make a power bank however big you want it. I don't even know how long that would be at 96 batteries, but however long you need the power for, there's options for that. Again, make sure to go check it out over on marfooglenews.com/energy. Also great, it's portable, and it works with almost any solar panel. I would highly recommend their foldable panels. I have 4 of their 100-watt foldable portable panels, and it works amazing. Again, as long as you have sun, you have power. Why I say that I would say the perfect setup is that you have both solar and gas, and you have extra gas. But if you're living in an apartment, there's no way you're not going to be able to store a barrel of gas. And once SHTF happens, you're not going to be able to attain gas. It's going to be almost impossible. With this, even if you're in an apartment, you could put up a solar panel. Even if you just get 100 watt, it won't charge as fast, but you could literally put it up in a window in an apartment. So that's something to think about. All right, and then Dex, let's get our next caller on. It looks like we have the Bitter Critter, and they are going to be talking about... we are going to be talking about the Tick or Lone Star.
Hey, Marf.
What's going on? Bitter Critter.
You on? Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, I figured I'd call and everything going on, but I heard the early showing about the Tick, and something we're pretty familiar with.
Okay, so you're familiar with the DVM, the DMV tick, the DC, Maryland, Virginia tick?
Well, we call it the deer tick. It's or the Lone Star tick, but we have quite a few members of our community that have come down with that for about 4 years now.
Now,
pretty crazy.
Now, does that same thing, does that affect their ability to eat red meat?
Marf, I'll tell you, it's crazy. So we, as a matter of fact, and we're from a really small town here in Northwest Arkansas, up in the Ozarks. We had a lady that just had to quit the station. We don't even have a stoplight in our town, but I had to quit the station because she could not be around the grill anymore from it. And we've known multiple people in our community that have got that illness. And yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's a real thing.
So you're saying she can't even be around a barbecue where meat is. So if they're barbecuing meat, she can't even be around it.
Adam, I'll tell you crazy. Not only could she not be working the register at a small station with them making burgers and everything in the back, we actually know some older people who came down with the illness that, you know, processing animals, that we're farmers out here, and processing animals and everything is a big thing. They can't even touch a hide or even touch meat, or they will get pretty ill, very ill. Although we do have a couple people that have recovered pretty well. I'm not sure if they're eating meat again, but they've been away from meat for years, believe it or not.
Well, Bitter Critter, that's really scary.
Hello?
No, I'm here. Sorry, I had to get up and grab a cord here because I guess it was lagging for a second. So hold on. Hopefully that won't mess us up at all. So is this something that's been around a long time? I just never heard about it until we saw this. So is this something that actually exists and has existed for a while, or? Go ahead.
Here's the crazy thing: is we was listening to the early show and heard you bring it up, and you know we've been aware of it for me and my wife were talking. I'd say about 4 years. We were thinking, and we were talking about it right after the early show before we switched over. And I'm thinking we probably got about 10 people in our community, and we're about a community of about maybe 300 people that have not only come down with it, but I mean it's been life altering. As I mentioned, I mean they can't even process an animal, can't touch the meat. We have a local lady up at our station that just recently quit, who could, like I said, could not even work the register and be around the smell of it without her getting nauseated and sick. And, you know, being farmers, I take ticks off me every day. We call it a deer tick, just got a little white thing on the back. But, yeah, it's a real thing. And I remember when it first came out, I thought, you got to be kidding me. Like, you can't even, you know, but no, it's, it's real, and it goes around, and, you know, it's, I wouldn't say prevalent, but it's, we have about, like I said, I think about 10 people we know in our small community that have come down with that.
This is absolutely insane. Now, have they ever talked about if it can spread? Can the ticks move? Or if somebody takes them over state lines, will they reproduce and start spreading in other areas? Do you know?
You know, it's crazy you bring that up. Yeah, I do. You know what? Like, well, her name's Lisa that works up at the station. Her family wasn't affected from it or anything like that. She was pretty severely. To the point to where basically she took time off and then eventually quit the station. Couldn't smell meat, touch meat, would eat no meat, and had no attraction towards the meat. And then we've known some other people who have got it in the same thing. And the most severe thing we heard was an older lady who lives pretty far out that could not even touch or process the chickens or whatever she might be processing and even touch the meat at all. And another strange thing, my wife just mentioned it, is she had a pretty bad reaction to touching wool. But yeah, and all from the Lone Star tick, or deer tick, as we call it.
Well, now I'm starting to wonder if, I wonder if they could reproduce it, or if say somebody was evil enough and they wanted everybody to get off of meat, could they take that and end up mass producing it or farming it or something? I don't know. That just seems so wild to me. Well, either way,
it's crazy.
Crazy story.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Marv, the real crazy thing is that the ticks are really bad in this area this year. Literally, we've been dealing with them pretty hard early on too. It's been about 4 years. Never heard of it before then. And then when we heard of the Maryland, we're like, Maryland, it's like going on here in Arkansas for years now. And it's the crazy thing is we get deer ticks on us all the time, and we use cedar oil, or a lot of people use off, or an insect repellent. But and I get bit quite often. I mean, I have to put tea tree oil or whatever the case might be on the tick bites. But for some reason, just certain people that have gotten bitten by these ticks, and it's affected them. Like I said, I don't know anybody who has gone back to eating meat in our community since they had that. Wow. And that's pretty creepy. I don't know, engineered or not, but
Well, that is wild. Gosh, now I'm fascinated by this whole thing. I can't believe I didn't know about this. As far as I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments saying, "Oh yeah, I've known about this for years," even though I don't know how long this has happened. But again, what if that can be harnessed? What if it was harnessed? What if it is? That's the scary part of that. It would fit into a few theories here and there. Well, the Bitter Critter, I pulled up your channel. I just want to make sure that people understand that the Bitter Critter also has a channel over here. You have 123 subscribers. I hope that people go over and check you out. It sounds like you have a radio voice, to be honest.
Thank you, brother. You know what? We love you, Marv. I mean, I'm like dying to get back in chat. I mean, I'm one of the chatty Cathys in chat. So we love you. But the crazy thing is, if I could say real quickly, is it's, I'm a tinfoil hat wearer and everything, is, it's a real thing. We've thought about that before. Like, where did this come from? Because growing up with ticks, I mean, you get bit all the time. Lyme disease is a real thing. That's not a big thing in our area in the Ozarks, but this thing is real. And I mean, being from, you think about even 10 people in a population of 300, our closest town is only 2,300 people, and that's about 40 minutes away. But it's for real. I mean, these people we know, we grew up with them and everything, and they actually can't go near meat, can't touch animals. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So who knows?
Now, have you seen that show, The Ozarks? Is that a good representation of that area?
I would say more like Deliverance. I'm kidding. No, we're stuck back in the 70s, Marv. We're a little screwed up here, but but no, I mean, people are flying in and it's growing, but no, we still got outhouses and everything out here. We're farmers, so it's a little bit crazy. But the tick thing, who knows? I don't know. I'm going to try and capture one, and I'll try and dissect it and put it in chat.
All right, man. Well, Bitter Critter, make sure to go check out his channel. It's very easy to find because it's a very easy name. When people do crazy names, and one of them is my mod who did Trinity, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here, blah, 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 which, by the way, everybody loves Trinity. She changed it from Trinity to Trinity, Hi-Ho, Kermit. But when it's a memorable name like that, the Bitter Critter, that's really good. So I assume that you'll have a bunch of people go over. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you know what? I love y'all. I love y'all. Love the family. Love the mods. Rip Curl, Ilea. Everybody. And I'm looking forward to that book from Ilea. That's pretty cool. But we love y'all. And yeah, just figured we call and we heard that, and I was like, you know what? I got a call on this. I got experience on this one. So I appreciate you taking my call.
Well, that's exactly what the calls are for. If you see a story that you relate to, or if you can add something to the show, you guys are part of this. We're all a big family of just, we're all a bunch of weirdo tinfoil hat wearing people. So I'm very proud to be part of this. Like you guys, this is, I'm only a part of this. This is, you guys are what makes this. Most people come here for the community, not for me. So I really appreciate you, man, and thank you. Thank you for calling in on that. I appreciate it.
Hey, Marf, thank you so much for having me, and love y'all, and have a great night. I'll see you in chat.
All right, bye. By the way, Trinity, who's here, obviously went, ha, ha, ha. That's pretty funny. Yeah, but Trinity, I thought you were able to change it after like 30 days, but I think then people like got to know it and everybody could remember it. Trinity, hi ho, Kermit the Frog here, blah, 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 I don't know, maybe now because your name is so long and random that people never forget it. The Bitter Critter, his link is not only in the chat. One of my mods has put it up. I couldn't see who that was. But also over on the website, marfooglenews.com. Let's see here. Oh, Catherine Sigurdson says they let the that went by. They let the lab the mosquitoes over in Florida. Yeah, they genetically modified mosquitoes which were like only male or something, so they couldn't or no. I don't know if this is the same thing, but we did cover mosquitoes that were only male and they were like hyper mailed out to where they were just literally trying to mate the whole time until they would die or something. Crazy stuff. Yeah, and you can put the correct story there. I did forget. Trinity Red Pill or Blue Pill. Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here. I did forget it, and that's what I'm talking about. If somebody was to go to that and they forgot the name, on YouTube, one thing I have found is if you type one letter off on a weird name, they don't go there. If you type in Marfoogle in Google or in YouTube, for whatever reason, how many Marfoogles are out there? Come on. But they will literally wait until you type in like 2 O's and a G. You'll have to have like Marfoogle. It's like the second you type the L or something, you'll type the E and it'll go, oh, now we found it. Like there's any others. Come on. Oh, and then like you'll type in Marf and you would think it would fill it in, right? No. It's like Marfalo or something, some marshmallow recipe. Anyways. All right, and then yes, thank you to many that have popped in. Again, Irish Rebel, thank you so much. Julia Withers. Over on D-Live, special thank you to the massive support by Crescent X. Thank you. Nana of Montana. Seriously, thank you so much for the Ninja Guinea. Laguna Berry, it was probably an undetectable knife from that P Club. They are plastic and they will force perish someone. I have one. Laguna Berry, I do know what you're talking about. Actually, that does make sense. If it was one of those like 3D printed or plastic, shanks, then yeah, I do believe that would totally be possible. MC Dirty Work, thank you for hosting. I appreciate that. And then Tristona, thank you for the Ninja Guinea, says Art Bell, George Norrie, Marf and Dex, always good stuff. On point, much love. That's a very big compliment to be compared to Art Bell and George Norrie. I know Dex thinks the same way. Vicky K, Ramona Ringer, Mauro Joseph, German River, thank you so much. Lisa K23, thank you for sticking around every show. Nana of Montana says at some point reality will set in. Be little, late then. Laguna Berry, hey, my giant orange moon picture is showing. I don't know why that sounded like I was saying something like I was saying something wrong. Hey, my giant orange moon picture is showing. Did I just say a swear word? Moxie71, Scooby-Doo Right, Renegade PD, Bear Claws, and everybody else that popped in for the glory of Christ. Thank you for the lemons. Skyhouse and Laguna Berry. Thank you, thank you. Kimbria, the highlight of my evening. Thank you. And then a special hello to Laura and Dave Reed. Appreciate you guys. Love you. All right, and then back to the news. Exclusive law enforcement prepares for potential violence, unrest surrounding the Roe decision. Dex, do you want to talk about this?
Well, we've already seen some of this flare up in certain cities, and we'll cover some of that in web only, like in LA. There's a lot of videos of what happened there. But this is a bulletin that's gone out across all of the major areas, across all law enforcement. And it seems to be something that they're broadcasting to be prepared for, right? And be prepared for it. And as this continues, it's not just last night. Excuse me. I think we're bound to see this be a hot topic and a hot button through the summer of love, if you want to call it that, right? It's almost like we're back there again with a different topic that is going to drive the streets, so to speak, to be a little crazy. And we started to see it last night, and we'll probably see more tonight. And I imagine what the weekends are going to look like, but all of the law enforcement officials around the nation are sort of, being told, hey, get ready, figure out what you need to do preparations, et cetera, as this continues.
Now, I have a question here. And this is just a big iffy there. What if something massive was about to go down? They're telling us May 9 that they might declare conflict, and magically something happens, a big event, and then they're saying it was them, and now we're declaring it, or they're declaring it, or somebody's declaring it. This happens. It happens to leak, right? It's the most unusual and biggest leak in history from the Supreme Court. There hasn't been something like it. And it's such a big subject. It's such a black and white subject for so many people. Like they believe this or they believe that. And now there's warnings going out to all police. What if something does go down? If you were in a major city and there's a bunch of people out in the streets for this, and then all of a sudden the power goes out, you may think, oh, maybe it's just my city, or maybe it's because of this, right? When actually, and then just yesterday and the day before, we got NK launching missiles and all this weird stuff, and they're threatening preemptive. This other country's threatening a preemptive strike, all this stuff. And then we've got Russian ships surveilling Pearl Harbor, on all these little things that pop in and kind of add in this, like, yes, you could possibly connect dots that aren't there and go, is something about to go down? This is very spooky. I would say if you have main cities, or if you have big urban areas like downtown areas, maybe you want to stay away for a couple days until we figure this stuff out. I know that most likely downtown Seattle, here in my case, I probably wouldn't head down there during these things. I made the mistake. I got pepper sprayed, rubber bullet, and maced when I was just a teenager walking down. Our very liberal and progressive school back then, even back then in 2000, whatever it was, they were like, you can take the day off if you want to go protest. We said, well, get out of school? Sure. We walked down there to the WTO, and it was absolutely nuts. And we weren't even doing anything. We didn't know what was going on. People were smashing stuff. People were getting rubber bullets. There's documentaries about it, which I believe I'm in 2 of them in the background running. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Stuff like that happens, and it's like, we shouldn't have been in that area. We should have been at school. I would have probably 3 less scars, and yeah. So stay away from urban areas if you don't want to run into craziness, because it looks like there's going to be a lot of arguments very, very soon. So we covered all this. And then, Dex, if you want to cover the web only, make sure that everybody needs to go over to marfooglenews.com and check out everything. Elizabeth Pervernis, thank you, or Pivernus, Pivernius. Thank you, Adam and Dex and Mods. And then Joseph Newhouse says, I followed up on the NASA article, Artificial Female Bodies. Oh, that's awesome. Did you look at the two names? Zelga and Hagu or something for the... Oh, you did. Okay, that was what it was. The two dolls that were named Horga and Helga and Zorgu or something. Weird stuff. I'll have to check that out, Joseph. Dex, let's go over to the web only because, man, there's a ton of it. And this is where, like, the Roe versus Wade kind of stuff would be. All of that would be over in web only content. We have videos, we have pictures, we have documents, we have everything.
Absolutely. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and scroll down to that web-only content. If you're on YouTube, open that description and click on show notes. It's right there. You can't miss it. Lots going on. Find out what the current administration basically said and labeled everyone who didn't vote for him, or pretty much everybody who voted for the other guy. Amazing statement there. It's just, I can't believe that is how we're now positioning the country. Some other things with the DIS board that came out, Ministry of, what we're talking about there. There's some updates on that. Plenty of updates on the Roe stuff, and even some things that the administration had to say about it. You can find that out and much more. There's information about potential DNA information. I'll leave it at that regarding birds. Go take a look. And plenty more, including the stuff I mentioned earlier about what happened in LA last night, which I'm assuming is going to continue to happen night over night. So all of that and a lot more and that's only just the surface of it. There's about 8 other articles there. Go read and find out the rest of the story. It's on marfooglenews.com. We put that together every night so that you can have access to the additional information that we either can't cover here, or maybe it's too far to one side, too opinionated. And it's not always just one side. We try to cover a little bit of everything. So, but the hot topics that we can't talk about, they're right there. And they're on our website. Go there every night. marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open that show notes link in the description on YouTube.
There's by the way, there's one story here that is it says that somebody may have planted something really messed up on this claims government planted this really messed up stuff on their computer. Now, totally not talking about the Nixium or whatever, Keith Rainier. But as far as Sunspot, if you remember what happened in Sunspot, the observatory, I thought it's so weird. What if people said when I talked about that, and I said, what about the real guy that worked there that they basically said was arrested for this and that? For one, we know that there are such thing as patsies, right? But two, what if they could keep somebody quiet for if they knew something else, like if he knew something about the sun or a solar event that was coming or an asteroid or something else. They could keep you quiet if the government said, hey, we're going to, if you speak ever again, or if you speak on this, one, you could, be unalived real quick. But two, we would make you look like this or like that or something else. Just funny because like the Don't Look Up, the premise behind that, they made the woman crazy, right? She's on the internet telling everybody there's a comet coming, and they made her look like a complete nut. The government could do that. They honestly could. So crazy stuff. It is now time for the shoutro. Thank you everyone that supported tonight. Thank you over on DLive. I appreciate you. Thank you everybody that did super chats. I love you guys. Have a good night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
He gave his life for all yours. I gave my soul unto the Lord.
with a CJ Blazy, rippin', robbin', and a bust a move. Yo, day you know, got to move. Turn around the man, and I got that too. All right, let's start a new one. Let's get a freshie. We call it a freshie. Thank you to Irish Rebel for your support tonight. I believe you may be number 1 on YouTube. If you don't know what's going on, I say thank you to the people that matter most to you. It is all done on the spot with a looper.